Hi, everybody. Are you ready to chat a while I get some projects taken care of? I tell you, it's been very, very cold this past week up in northern Wisconsin. We've been dropping down below zero very uncomfortably. And yesterday it was barely above zero and cold again last night. Today it's a little more in the teens. And so that's a relief. We're supposed to be in like the 20s or maybe even 30, mostly 20s, I think, this time of year. But every year they say, oh, we're supposed to be, the norm is, and I don't think we ever have norm. But anyhow, it's a good time to be doing some cooking, and that's what I've been working on. And in fact, I just finished making a really good pizza and eating it. Some homemade pizza. I got to show you what it looks like because it turned out so yummy. Look at that. It's got the pepperonis and the sausage and the onions and some canned peppers. Yum, 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 yum. So, never know where to look. But anyway, what I'm working on now is I'm working on making a really big batch of baked beans. And I found that instead of spending, $3 on a little can of brown beans, Bush's beans, or some facsimile thereof, and with who knows how much of what in it, corn syrup and everything else, I've really liked making my own, and I just freeze them up in quart bags and lay them flat in the freezer and pull them out as I need them, and it's awesome and it's so good. And I have such a great baked bean recipe. I'm going to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, Liz. Hi, Liz. Haven't seen you in a long time. I got this recipe from her back when our mother-in-law was living. We used to, whenever there was a family gathering type of Christmas or holiday get together, she would always bring these baked beans. And I don't know if she got them from her old, church ladies cookbook, which if it's in there, I'm not really sure. I should look because she gave me a copy of that, nearly 45 years ago when I got married. And it's stained and yellowed, and she actually even found me another copy and gave me that because I so badly damaged the first one. And I have all these pages that are fallen from it that are in a folder, and I save, and some of them I write down in duplicate because I don't want to lose them. But these baked beans are so, so good. And that's what I'm working on today. And this recipe, you don't have to soak your beans. You just cook it for many hours, like overnight. Not in a crock pot. You have to do them, in the oven on low. But I found out that I really don't like to have to cook them quite that long. And so I soak my beans, and then I go ahead and make them, and then I don't have to cook them as long. I can get it done in a couple of hours. So I have my beans, and of course I love the navy beans, but I find that pinto beans in bulk are a lot less expensive. So I do kind of a mix of both. And I have my navy beans in a big pot, and I have 3 pounds of beans here in this pot. And as you can see on top, I have a whole bunch of bacon, and that's raw bacon, 1 package of bacon just cut up. And it's a big pot. So got that ready a little bit ahead of time. And you don't have to use expensive bacon. In fact, with baked beans, it's all about the flavor, and that fat gives off a lot of flavor. So they can be cheap baked bean or cheap bacon, and this is actually a pretty reasonable. I don't think anything's cheap, but a cheaper package of bacon. So you do that, and I'm going to walk you through some of this, and then we're going to talk about other stuff because we have chatting to do. We haven't seen each other in a while. I didn't post last week. It's been a very busy month, as I'm sure it has for you, ever since Thanksgiving rolls one holiday into the next. So then I use a scant 2 cups of brown sugar that I'm going to dump in that. Then I put in a bunch of chopped onions, and I'm very liberal with the onions. I have chopped up, it's like more than 1 onion, but just 1 onion is fine. And I've got it all chopped up and ready to go here. I'll just dump that in. I'll show it to you all when I get it all together. But so what have you been doing to get ready for Christmas? Anything? I see a lot of people's trees going up. We haven't put up a single decoration, unless you count the solar lights I put out in the woods like a month ago. My grandson's because we wanted to do that. It would be fun to put solar lights out in the forest and watch them twinkle, make people wonder when they go by. So anyway, did that. Now I put in, the recipe calls for a half a cup of molasses. And I actually put in a little more than that. Oh, it's going to come out slowly, as the saying goes, as slow as molasses. But you see, I got a big old jar of molasses here. It was cheaper to buy a big old container off of Amazon than to go to the store. Years ago, I remember we bought a 5-gallon pail of molasses, and we had it stored in our garage. We had a freezer out there and a bunch of other things. Well, one year, a bear got into our garage, got into our molasses. The reason we had such a giant amount is because my kids were using it for some deer baiting and things like that, but I was using it also. But, well, that's about a half a cup. I'll probably add more as it cooks, but I start out with the amount that it says to use. And I usually end up adding, more as it's cooking. You can kind of tell by looking at the color how rich you want it, how dark you want your beans. And I like them quite molassesy and brown sugary. And they do don't let the early cooking stage fool you, though, because early on they might not seem like they are dark enough, but they will get darker as it goes along. So, got that out. And then I need to add, now if you don't want to bake, if you don't want to soak your beans, if you want to do the method where you're just going to get up, halfway through the night and stir them, cooking them on like 200 degrees, and then getting up in the middle of the night and checking them and maybe stirring them, maybe adding a little moisture or something, you would put in, I got to double check the recipe, I think it's like 12. You'd put in 12 cups of cold water. But as I already soaked my beans, I cut that back and I put in about 7 cups of water. And that's 4 right there. I got to get some more. But I did it last time this way for a few times, and it seems to be the right amount. So I put in 7 cups of cold water, or whatever water. I don't think I really checked to see if it was cold or not. I don't think it's going to matter. I'm going to put this in the oven right away. So I'm starting to stir that around. You want to watch. So anyway, there it is, kind of stirring that around. And maybe while it's cooking, I'll end up adding a little bit more moisture, but maybe not. We'll see how it goes. Every little while, I'm going to check it and give it a stir. Now, the only other thing I have to put in there is, it says on my recipe book, and this is a written down recipe, so, I jiggle recipes and change them here and change them there, and you probably will too. So it says a little ketchup. A little ketchup. I don't know what a little ketchup is. So I'm just going to kind of squirt ketchup until it seems like a good liberal amount. I think I'm putting in probably, I'm going to need to get ketchup. I think I'm putting in about a half a cup, right around there. And then whether that's a good amount or not, I don't know. I feel like I did this once and I just used some crushed tomatoes instead of ketchup. I don't know. And then it calls for dry mustard. Now, here's me, makeshift cook. Before I tell you this, I gotta say, I never dreamed that when I started this channel, I would be doing so much cooking on it. I've never considered myself that much of a foodie, but in the process of things, I've discovered I guess I am kind of a foodie. And I do like to cook. And I don't like cleaning up. But I never buy dry mustard. It's just something I don't keep on hand. I had a jar of it once, a little tiny jar of it, and I had it for so long. I mean, like years, till I was like, ooh, throw that. And I just don't use it enough, But we go through a lot of regular mustard. So, I just take some cheap yellow mustard, or you can use some Dijon if you're feeling a little more fancy, and I put a little bit in there. And mustard can really quickly overtake a flavor of something. And I'm going to show you again what I did on top there. I just squirted it around a little bit. I don't know. There's probably, a quarter cup in there. Do you feel queasy for me shaking the camera all around? I'm not a professional. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I think that's everything. Ketchup, water, onion, mustard, brown sugar, molasses, bacon, 3 pounds of beans. Did I say 3 pounds? 3 pounds of beans. It's a big batch, which is great because we'll save some out to eat, and then I'll freeze up maybe 4 quart bags besides. So it's easy. I soaked my beans overnight last night, so I didn't have to think about them much. And so this morning it was just a matter of cutting up the bacon and the onion and then throwing this together. This is some really fatty bacon. Do you have a favorite? You know what bacon I really love, but I don't use it in this because it seems kind of a waste. They sell from time to time, not all the time, but we have Menards by us. Menards Do-It Center or whatever it's called. Anyhow, it's a hardware everything store. And from time to time, though, they get a cooler full of bacon in. And it's nice slab bacon. And they sell it for like $7 a pound, $6 or $7 a pound. It's a good price for really good quality bacon. Sometimes they get random things in there. I like Menards. I'm a Menards girl because, Wisconsin, the Midwest, we have Menards. And just like we have Quick Trip. Do you have Quick Trip where you live? And that's a convenience store. If you don't. But anyhow, that's looking really good. I got it stirred up nice. I'll give you one last quick look at it. There it is. I'm holding my phone in so many different directions here. Does that look good? Looks good to me. So now I'm just going to pop that lid on that, and I'm going to pop it in the oven at 250, it says, for 8 to 12 hours or overnight. Well, that's for if I didn't soak my beans, which I did. So I'm going to turn down to about 300 and just kind of cook it at a little more normal temperature. And it'll probably be done, in a couple of hours or so. It doesn't really matter to me because my stove is warming my house. And if you hear a lot of weird sounds going on here, my bread machine is running over there, kneading some dough for me. I'll take my bread out of the bread machine and put it into pans to give it its second raise because I don't like bread cooked in the bread machine. I like it to be more of a natural loaf. And so I'll be cooking my bread later on. That'll be rising, and that's going to be a couple hours anyway. So I've got lots of time for the beans to cook. And you hear fans in the background because we have a wood stove and we heat primarily with wood. That's my bread machine saying, if you're going to add anything else, you better do it now. But I don't think I'm going to add anything else. It's usually just fine. So anyhow, what have you been doing else to get ready for it? Let's talk about grandma, grandpa, and presents for the grandkids, or surprises for the grandkids, or what you do at Christmas time to have fun with your grandkids. This year, the budgets have been particularly hard on everyone this year. And most years, I have a lot of grandkids. I have 20 grandkids, ranging from 24 down to 4 months. And the older couple of grandkids that are in their 20s now, a lot of times our family would exchange names. And they would be part of that because they're adults now. And one boyfriend included in the mix. And so 21 in a sense. And there's a couple of babies, one baby that's really little. So, I'll get diapers or something. And then a little girl that's only 1.5. And she's easy because she needs fun things. She's just a delight. But then we start getting into the age groups that up through from 3 years old, almost 4, up through elementary, where they start to have more specific tastes, and I can't afford some of the things that they want. 20 kids, or even if I pare that down and just say, well, here, just take the middle bunch, say 16 of them. It's a lot. Last year, we bought everybody a lighted sled, which was the same price as the non-lighted sleds. Now, the lights didn't stay on well, but the sleds themselves were a little sturdier. But they were still, and they were $10 a piece. And even with that, we were talking $200 in sleds. So we're trying to keep it reasonable, but it is really hard to find reasonable things. Now, I'm not the only one in the world with a lot of grandkids. I have friends who have more grandchildren than I have. And they are always looking for budget-friendly ideas and ways to give their grandkids a little something. And I used to give them, bigger things. When there was just 4 or 5 of them, I got things that were a tiny bit spendier. We've never been huge spenders at Christmas time. But even a simple gift, prices have gone up. So this year, what we're looking at doing is, maybe I should say, in case one of my grandkids sees this and watches it, I'm not going to say, but it's a simple thing. It's going to be about $10, $12 a piece, keeping it in that range, which is not a big deal. But, we just want them to know we haven't just decided we're not going to do anything. But the main thing for us is to try to give them a good time. And we don't always meet with everyone on Christmas, which is kind of nice in a way because, they get so much going on during Christmas. They're so busy. They have other grandparents to see and aunts and uncles to visit and siblings and the whole thing. So they have a lot going on. And they're running here and there. We've got the different programs to attend to and things like that. So last year, we did a really fun thing. And now you can help me. I'm trying to figure out what to do this year. Last year, we decided that one fun activity for them would be to go on a treasure hunt. And I took some empty cans, like just regular cans, like that vegetables come in, the bigger ones. Like here, I'll show you. Like this. I took some cans like this one here. Got some scrub brushes and stuff in there, and other kinds of containers. I think I took some other, empty, disposable, easy kind of containers. And I wrapped them up in Christmas wrapping paper, and I filled them with things. I put like pencils and candy canes in one, and I put what else did I put in? Each one had like 1 or 2 types of things in it, but that were really small, like I said, pencils, little gifts. And I put them in there, fun stuff, suckers or, gum or not a lot of candy though, because, parents don't want to have any more than they already are getting and stuff. But you can find a lot of little things, stickers or whatever. And then I hid them around the property. Now, we have a lot of property, and I didn't go crazy, but I did go like down in the woods, down a trail, find a good place to put them by a tree, by some little trees, or I put one just inside my camper on the countertop inside the camper, and put some. I had a tree that I decorated out in the woods, and I put some out there underneath that Christmas tree in the woods. I think that might have been the first clue place, the kicking off place, and different places. And the one out by the camper, now what I had done is I had taken a Christmas star and I had hung it inside the window of the camper and turned it on. It just looked like a decoration out there, just a Christmas star in the night. I had some other lights and stuff. For the other ones, the ones out in the woods over there, I hung randomly, starting at the end of the yard, an ornament. Every 10 or 20 feet, I would hang an ornament on a branch. Then after the first couple, I started sprinkling some glitter on the snow. glitter on the snow as I went along. It was so fun. It's like, ooh. Then I gave them clues, and I made little nursery poems up of that told little clues of where to head off. And some of them didn't know. The ones that don't live around here weren't sure about some of them. But if I'd say, take shortcut lane to the da 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 and head east or whatever. And it was something with that kind of stuff. And I had more rhymey, and I would read one to them. And some of the kids knew exactly what I meant by shortcut lane. Oh, we know. And I made them have teams, so they had to stay together. So everyone had to stay together. Mom and dads went out carrying little toddlers, and they went and they found the Christmas tree with the lights on it. And they're trudging through the snow, and it was great. It was almost dark out. They headed off down the lane. I could hear them squealing when they saw the glitter on the ground and things. And then one of the clues said something about the star shining bright. And then they were standing in a place in the lawn at that point where they could see the star in the distance. And they're like, ah! And they went running up there. And every time they would come to one of these places, they'd find another bucket of whatever, and they would hand it to an adult and wait till we got in the house. And then everything got divvied up at the end. I think I had like 5, maybe 6 spots of cans. I know at least 5. We had one out in Quinns Park. Quinns Park is where my son is laid to rest. And there are some solar lights out there, and I don't want my grandkids to be fearful. And, most of them aren't. Most of them are pretty comfortable with him being there, and they will go and they'll talk to the Lord out there, and they will leave little things in memory of Uncle Quinn. It's really nice. But we included him with that because we miss him. We don't want to shy away from that. And I'm sure everyone just seems like they're missing someone when it comes to holidays. So, don't let that be a stigmatized thing. I try not to let it be a stigmatized thing. But anyhow, that's what we did last year. So now I'm trying to come up with kind of a fun idea. Where I live, I have to be a little flexible because it could be really, really cold out. And I'm trying to come up with a good game idea. And they do this, while we're getting everything ready. The people have just gotten there, and parents are still trying to figure out their dishes and get them uncovered or warmed or whatever. So I'm trying to think of a good idea, some kind of game. And even for what I'm going to give them for Christmas this year, I know what the boys are getting. I'm not sure what the girls are getting. If you've got any ideas, especially for preteen girls, I have a bunch of girls between the ages of like 4 and 11. And if you get a great idea, just let me know. But anyhow, that's all I've got to talk about with you today. And I will zap back in with a short, maybe show you how those beans turned out. I hope you have a really blessed week, and we'll talk again soon.